All right, lead slinger. So we're gonna get into this beautiful bronze beast right here, the Warrior Systems WSM-15. Now, I don't know about you, but I am really enjoying the kind of price and quality wars going on in the firearms market right now, because that only helps me and you, the consumer, get the most for our money. And since Warrior Systems is a newer company, I had to make sure this thing got hot out on the range. I got this one hot out there to the point where I had to put gloves on. I don't normally use gloves either when I'm filming or training or even going to classes and stuff like that, because I just find that I don't really need them. But I think out there in the first like 20 to 30 minutes of filming this and just having a really good time with it, I'd already put like 500 rounds through it. And I know that may sound not like a lot, but for the first 20 or 30 minutes, for something that's not full auto, that's a pretty good little range session. Before we get into all the specs on the WSM-15, I want to give a shout to TriStar Trading. They handle all of the merchandise for the channel here, whether it's the hats or the shirts, all that good stuff. And they do that for a bunch of other people here on YouTube as well. So if you want to support me or them or any other content creator out there that's in the 2A world, check out TriStar Trading. I will leave the link down below in the description, but I keep getting asked where these hats come from, so that's linked down below for you guys. Now, I first learned about Warrior Systems at SHOT Show 2023. They had a booth set up out there, and they were actually allowing you to go and shoot these things in one of those like Connex indoor range things you can have built for your house, which is actually really cool. So I got to walk right out the doors and put a few magazines through this thing. I reached back out to them and I wanted to get one of these in for testing because they're a newer company, seemed like a quality setup, and for the price point, I just wanted to get it out there and see if it was gonna be worth looking into. So they sent that, came in their little discreet carrying case right here, which is your kind of standard Cordura or material carrying case that comes out with things these days. And then I rigged it up kind of how I like to rig most things that I'm testing with what's my favorite light, which is my ProTac Extreme, ProTac HLX right there, with their pressure pad from Streamlight. Great light, bang for the buck, probably the best one out there. And then I finally broke down and got a SIG Romeo 5 because the audience has been telling me to test one forever. I have to say it's actually pretty good, so I'm gonna eat a little crow on that one. But if you're interested in that stuff, I will leave it at the build list along with everything else. You can check that out down below. So getting into what the WSM-15 really is spec-wise. And we should probably start first with their mission statement, which is to provide better than mil-spec firearms at a price we can all afford, which is definitely something I am into. But they also do a lot to help the California market with the California compliant laws and stuff going on out there. So that's huge too, because people in California just don't get to have all the stuff the rest of us do because of these stupid laws, the draconian laws in those states that only infringe on good people's rights. For the upper and the lower receiver here, it's going to be 70-75 billet machine, and you can see that machine work is absolutely beautiful, as is that Cerakote bronze color. In fact, let's take a second to appreciate that Cerakote bronze. This will accept all of your standard mil-spec parts. You will get a flared magwell, an integral trigger guard, and the controls on this, from the trigger, charging handle to the safety selector, are going to be mil-spec, but they actually feel extremely smooth right out of the box. And the trigger is not half bad for a standard mil-spec style design. The buffer tube is going to be coated to match the rifle, which is a very nice touch. And the back plate is staked in place, which is definitely helpful to keep everything in place on the back end. It's going to use a standard carbine spring and buffer. It will have B5 furniture, which is my personal favorite. And I'm just kind of curious what your favorite is as well, because it seems to be we're all a little different. You will have standard pick rail all across the top from the receiver throughout the rail, which is going to be covered in M-LOK for days. You can put anything you want on it, and it's going to have that anti-tilt design meeting the receiver. The design is extremely solid and well proven at this point. You're going to have QD points on both sides of that rail. Up underneath there, you're going to have a mid-length gas system attached to a 4150 chromoly vanadium barrel with a 1-in-8 twist rate. So that's going to be that hardcore steel that's going to give you a lot of service when it comes to the round count. And this is going to come with one of their custom brakes on it. You get the choice of, I think, like 5 different styles, completely up to you. And the weight here before options is 6.43 pounds, which is pretty light. Now up in those guts, you're going to have a bolt and carry group made of 9310 for the bolt and 8620 on the carrier. It will be properly staked. It will be magnetic particle inspected and coated in nitride for some lubricity and of course ease of cleaning. And that's a very hard finish that's very well proven at this point, and kind of a personal favorite of mine because, like I said, it just makes things easy to clean up after a hard range day. If you like videos like this and you want to see more, or you want to help other people see stuff like this as well, go ahead and subscribe. Basically, that's going to do a couple of things. One, it'll make sure you don't miss the videos when they come out, but it's also going to tell YouTube to push this video to other people who maybe have never seen Second Amendment or gun content before, which will help normalize it. So if they watch it and they subscribe, that cycle kind of goes on. And being that it becomes more normal, that really only helps us all in the end. We didn't think for a minute I would forget my full spec sheet army out there, did you? Except sometimes you need spec sheets with energy music instead of elevator music. Well, this is probably a good time to bring up the HRT giveaway. They wanted to do a full assaulter system for the audience out there, so they're going to give you their L-back plate carrier and their new ARC belt full kit. You get to choose the color, you get to choose your placard for the plate carrier. Basically, it's a total rig for you. All you got to do is figure out what to stick in the pockets. You've got to subscribe to the channel, and you have to sign up for the email list down below. That's where the winner will be picked from. I will verify your comment here on YouTube, reach out to you by email only. I will never text you or ask you for money or ask you for anything like that. I will just ask you for your name, address, where to ship it to, as long as I can send it in the United States, flat rate, kind of US Postal Service mail. So if that interests you, make sure you do those two things. Well, how about the performance here of the WSM-15? Because that is where the rubber meets the road. And I will say it is exactly what you would expect out of a well-built quality rifle, but it does feel slightly better than some others I have tested. So sometimes rifle companies in this price point will overgas their barrels or overport them. And basically that makes sure that they run reliably. To me, I don't like that. I want the kind of midpoint in there. I don't want just barely enough to run, but I want that midpoint to where it's gonna run, and even when it's dirty and some austere conditions. But I don't want it so overgassed to have to start putting an H1 buffer or heavier spring, stuff like that, to where basically it's just putting excess wear on your bolt carrier, gas rings, all that stuff, which is eventually gonna cause a failure. So when it comes to the overall gassing of the rifle with a carbine buffer and a carbine spring, Wear System seems to have gotten it right. The upper and the lower receiver are extremely tight. They are very nicely fit and finished, and they don't need to use a tensioner screw up in there to make them feel tight. They're just machined that way right out of the box, and it feels super solid. One thing I did notice as far as the performance goes, this thing shoots really fast for like a mil-spec-ish style rifle. It's pretty light, coming in at that 6.43 pounds, even though it's a mil-spec trigger. The thing just seemed to run like a Banshee right out of the box. And I'm kind of a trigger snob, and I usually put in like a blackout defense trigger in there. But I have to say, the way that this thing is set up, it actually did a really good job for being like mil-spec style parts in here. For ammo types here, I shot a really good mix, a bunch of 62 grain 5.56, 55 grain basic ball, and then my spear kind of self-defense ammo that I usually run, all of which this rifle chewed through without a single hiccup. And as I said up front, I got this thing super hot. I did not give it a break. I was just having a really good time out there, running some drills, having fun. And I worked this thing until I literally had to glove up, and it got super hot, and I eventually had to put it down. But everything on the Wear Systems rifle, from the weight of it to the feel of the rail when you're grabbing it to the smoothness of the controls, just seemed to be very well done and very well thought out. And I was happy to see it turn out that way because it's another company entering the market. Plus, for the price point, the quality seems to be there. Well, we are at the point where we talk about, did I have any problems with the Wear Systems rifle, and would I change anything? So functionality wise out there, no matter what the ammo was, 100%, which was nice to see, especially for the price point. The quality seems to be there. One thing I did notice, however, was right here on the front of the magwell right there. The edges were just a little bit sharp, to the point where when I came back and grabbed it, I noticed it right away. So I think maybe it was just a little miss on the machine work. So I just basically took a file real quick and hit that edge to take that off. But that was really the only thing that I did notice out there as far as the build quality, functionality, all of that. The rest of it was 100% acceptable. And the way that it functioned was actually much better than a lot of other basic mil-spec rifles in this price point. Now, would I change anything? Of course, you know me, there's things I'm gonna change, right? But for the price point, I don't think we can ask for a lot more than what we get out of this rifle. But will I change anything? Yeah, I'm probably gonna do an ambi safety and an ambi charging handle and call it a day. I don't even think I'm going to change the trigger on this thing because like I said, it didn't feel half bad at all. And I could obviously run it pretty quickly as the video showed. All right, so the functionality was there and the quality seems to be quite good. So what is the pound of flesh? What's this gonna cost us cash money American? The MSRP was $12.99, but as of filming this video, I saw it out there for like $10.99. So for that price point and what the specifications and the quality materials and how it ran, I don't think we'd ask a ton more for that. I know there's stuff cheaper. I know there's stuff a lot more expensive, but again, I'm just happy to see another company out there producing what seems to be a really nice rifle at a price point that pretty much all of us can afford if we want a good, solid, hard use setup. Well, that's what I've got for you all today. Let me know your thoughts on the WSM-15 from Wear Systems down below. Make sure you get subbed up. Keep doing it out on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.